Mr. Walton, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system, and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family and explorers of consciousness. I'm the void one.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Oh, broadcasting from a shack on a hill in the mossy creek bottoms of Cane Creek, Arkansas. This is Lighting the Void. I hope you guys had a lovely weekend. It's Monday night, July the 13th, and we are back for another round of Lighting the Void live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. You can go to our chat room if you head over to thefringe.fm/chat room, and you can call into the show tonight at 1-800-588-0335. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I did myself. Pretty decent weekend. I want to thank real quick all the new patrons that signed up. We had a few new patrons sign up at lightingthevoid.com, and you can do that by going to lightingthevoid.com and just clicking on you can click on the banner, right? You click on the banner. There's a few banners there. People ask a lot, well, where is it at? Well, it's the patron logo's orange. I mean, everything on the site's like blue. So it's pretty easy to find, right? Or you can go to patreon.com/lightingthevoid. I want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. Make sure we got some, okay, yeah, we're good. But I want to make sure that I give a shout out to those people too. But before I do that, we got to give a shout out to the network sponsors, right? Because they keep the network going. They keep everything going. They keep us all going. And so that's getthetea.com, ancientlifeoil.com, and also Metaphorical Archaeology with Barbara Charlton. Thank you guys so much for your support, and all of you that have used them and letting them know that, you know, that we sent you there. The Fringe FM, Joe, Lighting the Void. It's a big help. It's a real help. The patrons as well. You guys really keep everything going. Pacho. I'm just in a very grateful mood right now. So here we go. I want to do this real quick to give you guys a shout out, all of you, because you guys are like my favorite people. And if you haven't signed up and you're donating, like a lot of people are donating, but you could take, like I say, if you donate to the show like $30 or something, you could take that money and put it towards 4 or 5 months of Patreon access, right? Because we're about to upload the new tarot readings and everything else there. and as soon as you sign up too, sorry, I'm a little flustered, but as soon as you sign up, you'll have access to all the backlogs as well, right? So I'm going to give some real quick shout outs here because I made a promise to them. So Jen, Robin, Kelly, Kimberly, the new patrons, thank you guys so much for signing up, as well as Brent, Andrew, Simon, Abby, Janine, James, Tam, Kristen, Alyssa, Amanda, Connie, Debbie, No Way Jose, Diane, Tom, W, Malorcas, Teresa, Dave, Lynn, Nick, Kathleen, Macon, and B. Thank you guys so much, because that really does keep things going here, and we can use all the help we can get right now, because this is a one-man show. But not tonight. Actually, it's not never a one-man show. We have guests on. So, and if you're into ufology, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight too, but if you're really into studying ufology, make sure you go check out our partners at ufoseekers.com, backed and supported by the Fringe FM. And you can give them a follow at UFO Seekers and go see all of their new episodes at youtube.com/UFO Seekers. All right, so let's bring on our guest. Now, our guest tonight, this is going to be interesting. Von D. Galt is here with us from Merkaba.com. And Von Galt is an author who grew up studying awakening and ascension and consciousness through Buddhism for 4 decades. And she's here to explain the mission of Tulku children and starseed alien souls who she believes incarnated at this time to help with the ascension of Earth further into the 5th dimension. And according to her, looks like among Buddhist indigenous beliefs, those who refuse to work on their awakening and ascension will struggle with the new energy of Earth and not make it to the interstellar golden age of humanity, which exists in the 5th dimension Merkaba. And she earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Washington and earned her MBA in e-business management from Westwood College of Technology. Aside from being an author and quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, she is a working mom and in the IT industry, and she lives in Seattle, Washington with her husband and 2 children. And let's all travel down the vortex with Von Galt tonight. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate having you here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What did I say wrong? You're laughing.
No, you said everything right. It's funny to, it's funny to hear, about yourself sometimes, because you're like, wow.
Oh yeah.
You kind of you want to interview and
ask
that person questions a lot, and then you're like, oh wait a minute, that's me. So.
Well, yeah, like I think a lot of people, especially if you're feeling like down about yourself or you don't feel like you're valuable or something, like really like write down everything that you've been through, like everything that you achieved, everything that you've been through, and then be like, well, that's pretty cool. And then read it like a radio announcer, right? You feel good about yourself.
Right. That is a really good exercise for everyone to do, is to just write down the things that you are, that you do, all the mundane things that you think you are and that you do, and then just take a look at yourself and go, wow, you're amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. A great exercise. And thank you for bringing that back up to everybody, because everybody is amazing.
Yeah, everybody is amazing, right? Like if I really want, like, if you're feeling like you're not worth something, or somebody's telling you can't do something or whatever, like that stuff's got to go, right? So you're all amazing folks, especially the listeners of this audience. And I wanted to ask you about this, because there is a lot of, I can definitely feel a shift happening right now. It feels like the train's moving. It's almost like, in my opinion, sometimes it feels like, I would call it the fun bus or the fun train. And it's like moving and everybody's trying to run and get on it. And the people that are, that are moping, they don't see the bus, and everybody's like holding out their hand, like, come on, let's go. That's what it feels like to me, especially with all the astrology that's happened. But I was talking about Buddhism last week with a buddy of mine, Alex Takaris, and I was thinking, well, the Buddhist perspective is at least one that I've heard, is life is suffering, but you learn from suffering, all that stuff. But I was just throwing that out there because that's what I've heard. But what is the real Buddhist perspective on awakening, ascension, and consciousness?
Yeah. So let me kind of back up to kind of how did I get into this space of talking about awakening, ascension, and consciousness in the 5th dimension. And these are not new age terms at all. They're very, very ancient terms and philosophies. And they're in many, many indigenous beliefs and many, many philosophies around the world. I happen to be born into a family that is Buddhist. I'm from Laos. And I have been raised in the philosophy. So I'm very familiar with the philosophy. And the basics of Buddhism was developed by the first Buddha who developed the philosophy, which was Siddhartha Gautama. Others would know him as Sakamundu. And he developed the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths that he had received through meditation. And it's the foundations of Buddhism. And so when you look at this, you're not going to think it's a religion. It's actually a philosophy for life. And basically, it's the Four Noble Truths is one, life is suffering. So if you live in a body and you exist in the physical, you're going to suffer, you're going to age, you're going to feel some of that pain as part of being physical. You can't escape it. 2, attachment causes suffering. So many people, according to the Buddhist philosophy, suffer from their attachment to not just physical things, but their attachment to ideas, to constructs, to things wanting to be a certain way, to certain ideals. And if it doesn't meet those expectations, they suffer because of that attachment to it. They just can't let it go.
Right.
And the third one is insight to remove suffering. So if you have a full understanding of how things transpire, why things are done the way they did, then you'll maybe understand a little bit of how you got there or how it came about. And by seeing that, you can't be angry at the situation much anymore because you have full insight. And then you understand a little bit more about the problem, or the solution is in the problem. And then the fourth noble truth is living the Eightfold Path and suffering. And the Eightfold Path is just a list of 8 ways to kind of dissect what your abundance blocks is, the things that are holding down your energy and keeping you in that denser reality. And the Eightfold Path is, and you can apply this to anything that you're struggling with in your life that continues to come up for you over and over again to resolve. The first one is to have a correct thought. Are you thinking about it correctly? The second one is a correct speech. Are you speaking about the situation correctly? The third one is correct action. Are you taking the appropriate actions to work to resolve that, or are you not? The fourth one is correct livelihood. Are you living in a way that is conducive to making it successful or making your problem perpetuate?
Gotcha.
The fifth one is correct understanding. Are you understanding fully how it transpired so that you can fix it? The sixth one is correct effort. Are you making the effort towards your goals, or are you making no effort and complaining about it? And the seventh one is correct concentration. When you're in the game, are you concentrating on the game so that you have more accuracy and more accomplishment in what you're working on? And then the last one of the Eightfold Path is correct mindfulness. Are you being mindful of your situation and your environment? So if you are trying to work towards something or trying to avoid something, are you making the choices that are going to be conducive to the success of that outcome that you're working towards? So that's the basics of Buddhism. It's not a religion. It's a philosophy for how to apply to your life so that you can address the things that you're struggling with, to raise your energetic frequency and then become more conscious in the greater holographic reality in which you exist in. So I've been raised in the Buddhist tradition, and most of the monks and nuns in the tradition spend much of their times in many, many monasteries and temples teaching the basics to most of the practitioners and for new people that are coming into and learning some of the practice, so that they can work on addressing their repressed issues and try not to basically screw up their life so badly by causing negative karma and issues in their soul group, which would compel them to come back and with the same soul group and try to undo or to fix the wrongs that they did before and make them right. And that's what most of the basic ABCs that many practitioners or people that follow this philosophy are trying to do, is just live the most peaceful life without creating more suffering and chaos for the next lifetime. But for myself, I got those basics early on when I was a kid. I was like, okay, great. Don't be a douchebag. Don't be mean to people. I got it. Simple. All right. So most of the time that people, like my family would go, like every weekend we would go, and, my mother and father, they would help fund some of the reconstruction of the monasteries in Laos. And I, as I got older, I would go there and see the monasteries that they would help rebuild and it will help fund the artwork of. And what I always am attracted to is I'm attracted to the artwork because the basic stuff that many of the monks and nuns were teaching and talking about, I already got that. So I basically went on and started studying the murals and the art and asking the monks, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I was mostly drawn to sacred geometry, Buddhist mandalas, and all of these very fantastic images of ascended masters and Buddhas, male and female, that were able to do these great sixth senses and these great feats and travel the multiverse, travel different parallel realities, make reality more fluid. And I was just very attracted to that. And so that's what I learned growing up, because I got the basics. Don't be a douchebag. Done. So so I'm not creating any negativity or suffering that I'm going to fix later. I got that. So I focus on the advanced stuff and kind of got into the sci-fi aspect of Buddhism. Well, what was interesting for me is that about 20 years ago, the Dalai Lama and many prominent monks around the world started this initiative to go into academia in the West and around the world and work with different institutions and universities to provide themselves as a resource for consciousness studies, mindfulness, meditation studies, and find out, is much of the stuff that we have been teaching and studying for almost 2,600 years in this practice, and Buddhism even goes back beyond that to some of the Vedas of Hinduism, because Siddhartha Gautama, the first Buddha, he was from an Aryan Indian family who was Hindu, and then he branched off and started Buddhism. But what they wanted to find out from the initiative is how much of this stuff can actually stand up to current science. What does science say about this stuff? And maybe science can clarify some of the mysticism that we've been studying that have kind of lost some of its understanding over time. So what can we add to the canon? And in the last 20 years, I've been following a lot of fringe, what they used to call fringe science. So I would go and I would look at anything that sounded interesting in this university study and that university study. And over the course of 20 years, I ended up compiling, just for my own interest, 20 years of scientific information from all these universities and putting the pieces together to prove that all sacred geometry in all of the major religions worldwide speak about the same thing, which is that everyone is a Buddhist mandala. Everyone has a Merkaba. Everyone is energy. And that energy, that crystalline consciousness that we call in Buddhism, is the sacred geometric tones in your Merkaba. And that Merkaba, how perfected and spiritually developed you are, will take you to different multiverses, different parallel realities, and also help change your reality and affect the greater reality because you are such a high, strong, energetic frequency. And by doing that, you have the potential to reach a higher dimension. And this kind of goes into another folklore that is becoming proving more real as well. So do you have any questions about that before I go into the other Buddhist prophecy?
Well, are you saying like did this happen in the ceremonies? Did that happen in 2012? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so I'm going to get to that. So like I said, last 20 years, I did all this studying of following different research about sacred geometry.
Yeah, the mandalas.
And
I got that part.
Yeah, to prove the Buddhist mandalas. Now, what was interesting was in 2012, as part of the research, a lot of indigenous cultures worldwide, such as the chiefs of Easter Island, chiefs of the Mayans, Native American chiefs, and of course, Buddhists. We did what they called the awakening ceremonies. And what many cultures worldwide, and different people in Western society, they saw these indigenous cultures doing these quote, quote, awakening ceremonies, and they thought it was kind of weird. Well, many Buddhists speculate that because there are so many different indigenous tribes around the world doing these awakening ceremonies at about the same time between 2010 and 2012, that they may be remnant knowledge of a folklore that we have about a Lemurian landmass in the Pacific that many of these cultures have somehow gotten that information from, because that information was stored in the Buddhist folklores for a very long time. And we did these ceremonies to close out the cycle of separation, seeing separatism in each other, and welcome in a new cycle of unity consciousness, seeing unity and oneness, and seeing the namaste in one another, and seeing the connection that we have to Earth. So we didn't do anything different. All we did was just kind of enact this ceremony worldwide to close out this cycle that we've been waiting thousands of years to close out, not knowing what it's for or how it's going to happen. But according to the folklore, we're closing out a cycle and then welcoming in a new energy to the Earth, which is one of unity consciousness. And then we waited for the Earth to do her thing. And nobody really knew exactly what was going to happen. How was Earth and humanity going to move to the fifth dimension? That's the folklore. That's the prophecy. Okay. So we did that. And we waited and to see what happens. But the interesting thing is, as I'm doing 20 years of research for my own personal interest in Buddhist mandalas, I end up birthing a book. And the book is out now, and it's called Buddhist Mandalas, Explore Parallel Realities with Sacred Geometry. And again, I got so much information and so much scientific research that I have to put into 3 books. And this is the first volume, and I'm working on the second and then the third volume eventually. But the awakening ceremonies, how that ties into what's going on right now, and it's been going on since the late 90s, actually. But the reason why we're noticing it even more now is because of a phenomenon called the Schumann resonance. Okay, so there's this institution at Princeton University called the Global Consciousness Project. And the Global Consciousness Project has been going on since 1999. It's run by the Institute of Noetic Sciences and HeartMath Institute out of Princeton University. And what they did about 20 years ago, I've been following the science for 20 years, is they got some funding, probably from a bunch of ancient souls, starseeds, because this kind of occult stuff is their entertainment. And they wanted to find out, is the Earth alive according to indigenous belief systems the earth is alive. She's responding to us. We're responding to her. There's a connection there. So they wanted to kind of understand that. And so what they did was they put 70 random number generators all over the world. And these machines, they work much like a seismology detector, kind of detecting electromagnetic fields. And what they found in the course of the time that they've been researching it for a very long time, the Earth's heartbeat, or her resonance between the ionosphere and just kind of the energies of Earth, has always been 7.83 hertz. Okay, it's never changed. And according to the science, that's always been the heartbeat of Earth. It's always been that energy, 7.83. Well, what they found is whenever there's like a huge event, like a natural disaster, like a tsunami, an earthquake, even a huge event like 9/11, the Earth's heartbeat, her hertz frequency will jump. And whenever she spikes in her frequency, it will have an effect on the animals that live on her. So like if an earthquake is coming or a tsunami is coming in a specific area by a random number generator, the science in the area will light up to Princeton University saying this part of the world is expecting some kind of event because the technology is spiking, and the people in the area are also feeling some anxiety about something that they don't know about. So just like animals, people react the same way when they feel some kind of event coming on in the area. They start squirreling, they start running to high ground, they start, seeking refuge. That's what animals do in the wild when they feel the energies change and we're going to have an earthquake or something's going to happen. And so you see all the birds flock and move. Animals do this. Humans do the same thing. We just don't know it. And so what the Global Consciousness Project was able to prove over the course of 20 years is that the Earth responds to changes in her body. And she makes these spikes and they affect the people in those areas, because people will start because your biorhythms are also based on the Earth's energy. So people will have backaches, headaches, they'll feel vertigo, they'll have all these different symptoms. And it's because of them trying to calibrate with the energy of the Earth when she's having these kind of spikes with these events that's happening to her body. Wow. So they were able to prove the Earth is alive and she does have an effect on us, as well as the other synopsis or hypothesis that we have an effect on her. And what they found for that research over 20 years, and you can actually go to the globalconsciousnessproject.com, and you can look over 20 years of evidence of all of the different events that they've tracked. And each and every single one of them shows within hours of the event actually happening, there was a new hertz frequency. There was a new spike before, and then it went back to normal afterwards. And what they found is people, she responds to the heartbeat of people as well. So people, your heart energy is 5,000 times stronger than the energy that comes out of your brain. And when millions of people in a specific area are feeling something, or anxiety or joy, just some kind of huge emotion about some kind of event going on in that area around that random number generator, it will send a pulse to the Earth, and the Earth will feel that, and she will respond as well.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
It is.
I got to tell you some stories about that, but we got to take a break here. We'll be right back. We're on our first break here. You guys stay with us. Pretty interesting stuff. We're getting a Buddhist take on all this stuff that's been happening. Wonder if you guys are starting to believe this yet, after all of the synchronicities and guests we've had on lately. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
All right, man, the This is Crow 777, and you are listening to The Fringe FM.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves! Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit. And when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Rupe right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
From a cave in the depths of your mind, it's Lighting the Void with Joe Rupe.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you're interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm. Or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
Hey, I'm J.M. DeBoard, and when I want to talk about dreams, I look up my man Joe Rupe and his show, Lighting the Void.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Tonight, we are talking about Buddhism and the Great Awakening that's happening. It's been happening, actually, with our guest tonight, author Von D. Galt. And before the break, you were discussing something that I found interesting because I've been experiencing a lot of this stuff myself. You're talking about the Schumann resonance and the frequencies and Earth being alive. And recently, we've had a lot of big-time, like, astrological retrogrades and massive astrological events that that aren't going to happen for years to come. So there's been a change in the earth for sure. And I got to tell you, like, for the past few weeks, you were talking about headaches and all that stuff. For the past few weeks, I had these, headaches where you get the blurry stuff in your eyes. I was having them day after day. And a few a day. The doctor tried to give me some stuff for it, but I didn't take it. You know, they always give you that knockout medicine, right? And then, you know, I know a few other people having like back pains, exhaustion, stuff like that. That's been happening a lot. Has it been happening a lot lately, or or is that going along with what you're saying?
It's going along. Every single time the Earth has her spikes, and she's climbing up those higher frequencies, you're going to be affected because you're an animal reacting to the biggest magnet on Earth itself.
And this is all about ascending us into 5D, the Merkaba.
Right.
Stuff,
So let me explain that. So here's a really good analogy for how to understand what's going on with the magnetics of Earth through the Schumann resonance that's being measured by the Global Consciousness Project. And you can go online, and there's other sites that will tell you what the power is, and they calculate all the different factors, you know, if she's having a spike or not. If you wanted to get first warning of, ooh, I'm feeling something, is there anybody else feeling it too? But basically, take this analogy, because this is the best way to understand what's been happening since 2012. And like I said, the indigenous cultures had no clue what was going to transpire. They just knew to do this awakening ceremonies, and Buddhists knew to do this awakening ceremonies at the same time. And we were actually one of the last ones to do it. And it was the close of the cycle of separation, the welcoming of the cycle of unity consciousness that propels us to a fifth dimensional parallel reality, which humanity enters into an interstellar galactic future. It's what we Buddhists call the golden age of humanity. But here is, after watching this for 20 years and seeing this event after event after event, I mean, 9/11 was predicted 4 hours before it happened on the random number generators in the area. Hurricane Katrina, all the other major disasters. And there's been events that happened that the Earth did not even make any changes. She was not affected by what was going on, did not care about that event. So it seems like she might even have a preference. That's my speculation. But event after event. And basically, here's how you can understand this and how it relates to you. When you go shopping for a TV, okay, you look at the cheaper, older TVs that have a lower hertz frequency, maybe 24 hertz, 24 frames per second. The picture quality is slower. The frames that change much slower. You can see the picture changing because it's very slow. But if you upgrade to a higher, better resolution TV that has maybe 60 to 120 hertz frequency, that picture quality on a higher resolution TV will change 60 to 120 times per frame. So the frames will change so much faster that you won't be able to see the difference between the last frame as it's changing. It'll be a smoother picture. The picture quality will be higher resolution, much more expensive TV. That's what's going on with the Schumann resonance on Earth. When Earth changes from 7.83 hertz, and she kicks it up to, for a long time, before 2012, she may kick it up to 10, maybe 14 hertz. And the scientists were having a great time with that because she never did anything for a very, very long time. And so they're like, ooh, we got enough data. But they decided to keep it going to see what else would happen. And what ended up happening as we got closer into 2012, she started jumping even higher frequencies. She started going to 20, 30, 40, 60, these high numbers that she has not done for a very long time because she was always 7.83 hertz. She was always a slower frame TV. And now she's jumping into the high resolution. And so what's happening is that the picture quality is changing so much faster. So if you are working on your awakening, on your ascension, you're working on your spiritual development, what you might notice is what New Agers call Mandela Effects, your personal Mandela Effects, where all of a sudden you'll go outside and the shrubbery in your neighbor's yard that you remember was barren is all of a sudden full one day. You walk down the street and there's this old tree in front of a house that you lived in for 30 years that was never there before. So you'll notice these nuances in your reality, and that is because you shifted to a better reality that has much better picture quality. The earth is jumping into a higher frequency. And that's how, after looking at this for 20 years, that's how I can see from my understanding of Buddhism and how consciousness changes reality is that Earth herself is changing from the lower, denser reality of the third dimension and jumping into further and further into the higher dimension of the fifth parallel reality. And that's how she's going from the cycle of separation to the cycle of unity. And the cycle of unity has a couple of different unique factors to it. And everyone's going to start noticing this. And after seeing this scientifically for 20 years, it falls right in line with the Buddhist understanding of what's happening. Before, it was just a prophecy that we were kind of like, whoa, let's see what this is. We're just going to do it because we've been waiting thousands of years to do this ritual, to do a ceremony and close out the cycle. But nobody knew what was going to happen. But after all this research, I see what's happening, and I see that people are still living like they're in the third dimension. They're still acting and trying to make things happen like they're still in the third dimension. And as Earth is making these jumps into higher and higher frequencies, the energy has changed, and everybody's still acting like we're in the third dimension. And this is how the energy has changed. Like I said, she's making those big leaps. When she makes those big jumps into higher and higher levels, it's like the analogy of if you're going sailing, okay? Nothing's going to change around you, but all of a sudden the wind changes and picks up speed. It starts slow, but then it starts picking up these big whooshes. So just kind of like the Schumann resonance of Earth, she started with little jumps. And now all of a sudden she's not doing baby steps, she's doing leaps. She's doing these big leaps of energy changes into higher and higher numbers. She's not waiting and staying in the dense reality. She's going for it. And what happens when the energy changes, just like if you're sailing, when the energy changes and you notice, hey, honey, the wind is changing and it's picking up really fast. Let's put the sails up and change the way we navigate. Okay, and if you change the way you navigate, you will follow the wind and work with the new parameters of sailing with the new higher energy, and a couple of knots in change can take you to a completely different reality, can take you to a completely different part of the Earth. Well, our Earth, through the science of Schumann resonance, is picking up wind and moving us further into a higher fifth dimension. And what happens when the energy is picking up so much faster is that everything manifests faster. You'll think of something and your friend will call you just as you're thinking you should call your friend.
Right on.
You'll think, I think I'm going to do a show about these topics, and someone will email you with the exact show suggestion.
That has been happening. And you know what? Like Pacho is in charge, my producer. Like, I tell everybody this, but I just had a talk with him before he became the producer. And I said, I've got a list of people I want to talk to, and I'll throw names at you and kind of let him do the rest. And so we don't really talk as much as people think we do. And yet it's still happened. Things are still happening synchronistically, like you're talking about. Like even the subjects matter that we'll talk about a day before, which I know Pancho didn't plan. And then a guest comes on, starts talking about it. It's crazy. Just like you're doing right now. Exactly like what you're doing right now.
Exactly. And that will happen more and more as we go further into the fifth dimension. Now, here's the thing about going further into the fifth dimension. Now, I remember I said, I'm familiar with the Buddhist perspective. And again, this is a Buddhist perspective. There's many perspectives on what's going on. The Native American perspective has a very rich wealth of this as well, and as well as the Easter Island perspective. But anyways, the thing with the fifth dimension is if you're working on your awakening, okay, if you're going to have a much easier time in these higher energies if you are closer to that fifth dimensional energy. Okay, so like I said, in Buddhism, awakening is simply, awakening. The word Buddha in Sanskrit means Bud. It means to awake within the matrix, awake within the game. It is simply someone who realizes that they exist in a holographic reality that is responding to the commands of its user, which results in consciously creating both individually and collectively. Okay. And, the year 2012 in Thailand and Laos, we start the calendar under what we call the Buddhist era. So the year is 2563 BE. So in 2012, that was actually the year 2555 according to the Buddhist era calendar, which 555 is an angel number symbolizing a year of change from polarity to unity consciousness. Wow. Okay, it's a fifth dimensional energy of unity, 5 platonic solids in the Merkaba, in the Metatron's cube, in sacred geometry. It's a higher dimension. It has more sacred energy in it, and that higher energy is all about working together. So if you're working separately, you're not going to achieve so much, because just like if you're sailing a boat, you can't sail that boat by yourself.
Hello.
You can't.
Hold on a second. That I'm starting to get chills right now.
What
Seriously.
do you mean?
Well, like and people that listen to the show frequently know exactly what I'm talking about. Is somebody in the chat room picking up on this yet? Like, so I was talking to Candace Sanderson, right, which wasn't too long ago, and she wrote a book called The Reluctant Messenger. She wrote her second book because I told her about an angelic encounter I had, and she said it inspired her to write her second book. And I had a dream that night, like that I was rowing a boat by myself. Like there was a bunch of people in the boat, but I was trying to row the boat by myself, right? And I was trying to steer the boat from the front. Not you steer from the back. That's where all the power and steering is, right? And then you help pull from the front and turn sharply. And I wasn't going anywhere, and the waves were real choppy, and the storm actually did come in. And she was like, well, that means, like you're the one steering the boat. Maybe you should get in the back and get some help. Like it was all about allowing for teamwork to happen, right? And you're saying like that you just said what I was talking about. It's crazy, man.
That's your dream. That's your angels are telling you you gotta play the fifth dimensional games and stop living like we're still in the third dimension. Okay, so and I will get a little bit later when Patrick calls in. One of the things that I did as part of my 20 years of research was look into energy medicine, and I'm familiar with the Buddhist energy mythologies like Reiki and Qigong and other energy modalities. But I researched ones in the West that were coming out, and one of the ones that I really love that I actually do right now for my private hypnosis practice is called QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, which was developed by an author and a hypnotherapist, Dolores Cannon. And she spent about 40 years making this and perfecting this very simple technique, and it's wonderful. She wrote many books about it. And I use that technique with my clients. And the clients that I typically get are what they call toku and star seed, the really, really ancient souls. And I speak to, through my client, go over their past lives, their future lives, their spirit lives. I talk to I bring out their deceased loved ones. If they have deceased loved ones they want to talk to about something, we go over everything. We leave nothing on the table. And then oftentimes the oversoul, which is the universal consciousness inside everyone equally, will give that person a fifth dimensional business plan on how they can thrive in the fifth dimension is new energy. And it always revolves around how they could do it in unity. So when we bring Patrick in, we'll definitely go over his business plan, because it gave him exactly the typical blueprint fifth dimensional business plan for how he can thrive in the fifth dimension. And it's all about sailing that boat with multiple peoples and going further and going higher.
I gotta get in on this, man. I gotta get in on this for sure. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So when that comes up, we'll bring him in and we'll kind of go over his material and stuff. And it's just beautiful, and we'll talk about that. But before we get to that, let me close to kind of finish off awakening, ascension, and the fifth dimension in the Buddhist canon. So awakening. So you awaken and you realize, okay, I live in a holographic reality. It's responding to my perspective on things. So all that self-help work and the spiritual work that you're working on and all that what they call woo-woo stuff, that stuff is helping you remove the dense energy, remove that linchpin in the issues that's kind of holding your frequency down, removing that so that you can raise your frequency, because everybody already came here with a relatively high frequency, but then all the conditioning and the issues that they brought forth from their family, from their religion, from their culture, all these conditioning is what's holding everybody's energy down. All their life triggers and dramas, it's holding their energy down, and it's keeping them in that lower density. And in these higher energies, according to Buddhists, you have to work on those repressed issues and remove those blockages from your personal Merkaba, your energy field, so that you can raise your energy field and you can raise that frequency so that you can live in more harmony and peace in these higher energies. Okay, it's like you have a bunch of garbage on your boat and it's slowing you down.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay,
I got you.
That's what everybody's doing. They're on a sailboat. They got garbage that's been dumped on them their whole life. They're keeping it for whatever reason. They don't want to look underneath all the stuff. And the wind is picking you up and you're getting left behind.
You know what's something else that really bothers? I mean, if that doesn't bother you, what you were talking about earlier about your soul families, that you end up hurting them, right? Because of it, right? Think about that. Like most of the people that are in our soul families, we know who they are. We know who they are, and we love them deeply for the most part. So why would we want to hurt them? You know, it's like, why? But we do. We take our stuff out on them or really hurt them. And then what? We got to pay for it in the next life? Is that how that works? The karma thing? We got to do it over again? These cycles or whatever? We don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, you just have to look. What's interesting is the wonderful thing about my private hypnosis practice, where I do QHHT to residents in the Seattle area, like your producer Patrick, is that we go over their lifetimes, and I get to apply all this Buddhist knowledge that I have learned in my lifetime, and I get to actually apply it to a practice. And so I get to talk about past lives and reincarnation, all these different things, and raising your frequency and getting to your awakening, and giving them the fifth dimensional blueprint that the Oversoul gives. So I get to apply all this wonderful knowledge that has been stored my whole life into an actual practice. And what comes out over and over again is people get stuck in the wheel of Dharma. They get stuck doing the same mistakes that they do lifetime after lifetime, trying to undo it so that they don't have to keep on trying to correct what they did wrong. And the reason why they do it over and over again is because when you incarnate into the Earth experience, it's very unique because Earth is unlike any other planet or reality in which souls can incarnate into and play the infinite game of creation.
Wow.
And the reason why it's unique is because everybody, no matter how ancient or how young their soul is, they are at an even playing field. They come in with amnesia. They don't remember any of their past lives or their future lives. They don't know exactly how perfected or how strong their Merkaba is, or their energetic frequency. So everybody's in amnesia. So you don't know if your brother or your sister or your child is this very ancient soul that has a lot of healing energy and a lot of sixth senses if they work on their awakening ascension, or you don't know if your mother or father is if this is their first go around in the physical, and they're going to make a lot of mistakes and probably hurt a lot of people because they're young souls that don't know anything.
Yeah.
So and that's what really comes out oftentimes in my hypnosis sessions is when they go through their lifetimes and they see with the same soul groups that they are making the same mistakes, then a light bulb comes on and they're like, I get it. I need to get off this wheel of Dharma. I need to address all of these dense issues, learn from it so that I don't repeat it, so I can get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is as we move further and further and Earth makes her leaps, I'm not talking baby slaps, we're talking leaps, big whooshes of wind, further into the fifth dimension, what's happening is raising everybody's frequency. It's changing you as well. And they found this in science. It's in my book, Buddhist Mandalas, but they found that when they take the light communication between a salamander embryo and they shoot that communication or that light frequency into a chicken egg, that chicken egg births a salamander. So they can actually change the DNA just based off of light frequency. And when Earth changes her frequency and she goes into these higher and higher numbers, it will affect and change all the beings living in it. Because we're just energy. The body that you're looking at in the mirror is your sim. And when you go and do past lives, future lives, life between lives hypnosis like QHHT, you find out that you've been black, you've been white, you've been male, you've been female, you've been other creations in different universes and different star systems. Earth is not your first go around.
Yeah, I kind of start thinking like when we look at the hardships that we go through, no matter how much we go through, or how many times we go through them, at least I know in my life, it's brought me to some profound things, like, and I think a lot of it's led up to this point in my life, where I'm at now. Like I'm personally going through some big transitions right now, and I know a few people that are, and I talk to them on a constant, but I'm sure you do too with what you do, don't you? You talk to people that are going through massive shifts and transitions on a constant basis. So you find that there's suffering and way. I can tell you one way that before we go into the break that really has gotten me is like who I am at my core is conflicting with, what I was brought up and told I was supposed to be. And you think you're over that, right? You're like, oh, I'm over that. But actually that you're never over that. You're always growing. But then you got this heart center that's like wanting a certain thing, but your mind's playing tricks on you, and it feels like indigestion and a headache all at once, because you can't get them to sync up, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Before we go into if we have some time, let me just explain it, and this will be good to pick back up when we get back from the break. Ascension. Okay. So you've had your awakening, you get it. You're in a holographic reality, and it's responding to the perspectives that you have on things. And And you can use the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path in Buddhism to address your abundance blocks that's holding you down. You can go to QHHT and get your cheat code from the Oversoul. You can go to Narcotics Anonymous or 12-step programs. They have a great practice to kind of look at your abundance blocks and deal with your triggers and your issues. There's a lot of different ways to go down the rabbit hole, figure out what your issues are, deal with it, learn from it, resolve it so you can get to the good stuff. But the good stuff is your ascension, okay? And that is raising your energetic frequency by living the best version of you. Right. And as a result, you positively affect yourself and those around you. And by doing so, it levels up your Merkaba to Christ consciousness, which activates your 6 senses as you work towards nirvana. That's the Buddhist definition of ascension.
That's fantastic. We got to talk about that more when we come back from the break. Be right back with Von Galt. Pretty interesting stuff. 1-800-588-0335. That's the number that you want to call into the show. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Alex Exum, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Rupe on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Root in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to The Fringe FM.
Have you ever seen an ad or banner which brought you a feeling that someone is reading your mind or even listening to your conversations? Your online data is being used against you. Surfshark is a VPN service that makes online privacy protection easy and attainable. You can use it on as many devices as you'd like simultaneously. Surfshark encrypts all internet traffic sent to and from your devices and ensures that your IP address remains hidden. The VPN service that we use at UFO Seekers, plus 1 month free for $1.99 a month. Visit surfshark.deals/seekers.
Hey Fringe listeners, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange Radio, asking you to join us live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM. Visit beyondthestrange.com for links to chat, social media, and schedules of the show. And remember, always stay strange. Hasta.
Abnormal News, I'm Brad Bernards. The sun is right there in the name of NASA's Parker Solar Probe, but a second mission of opportunity may make the spacecraft just as vital to Venus scientists as to those studying our local star. Parker Solar Probe launched in August 2018, destined to spend 7 years looping ever closer to the sun in hopes of sorting out some of the hottest mysteries about our star. But to do so, the spacecraft needed a carefully choreographed trajectory, one that included 7 flybys of Earth's evil twin, Venus, and Venus scientists who haven't had a dedicated NASA spacecraft since the mid-1990s were not about to let that opportunity fly past them. Of course, Parker Solar Probe's instruments are designed to study a star, not a planet. Traditionally, planetary scientists want very different instruments on their spacecraft, but that doesn't make plasma data superfluous. 2 dedicated Venus missions have carried plasma detectors to the world, NASA's Pioneer Venus Orbiter and the European Space Agency's Venus Express. But those spacecrafts were built decades ago. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory has observed a magnetic explosion, the likes of which have never been seen before. In the scorching upper reaches of the sun's atmosphere, a prominence, a large loop of material launched by an eruption on the solar surface, started falling back to the surface of the sun. But before it could make it, the prominence ran into a snarl of magnetic field lines, sparking a magnetic explosion.
The explosion, known as forced or controlled magnetic reconnection, is triggered by an eruption on the sun, which causes tangled magnetic field lines to explosively snap and realign, shooting out particles and energy.
The observation, which confirms a decade-old theory, may help scientists understand a key mystery about the sun's atmosphere, better predict space weather, and may also lead to breakthroughs in the controlled fusion and lab plasma experiments. Previously, a type of magnetic reconnection known as spontaneous reconnection has been seen both on the sun and around the Earth, but this new explosion-driven type, called forced reconnection, had never been seen directly, though it was first theorized 15 years ago. The new observations have just been published in the Astrophysical Journal. Read the news at parabnormalradio.com. I'm Brad Bernards, Abnormal News.
Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOS T-drift. Contact, nice to be in orbit.
The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Rupe.
All right, welcome back to Lighting the Void. Fantastic show tonight, or Monday night. Well, Tuesday on into the 14th, July the 13th on into the 14th. Our guest tonight, Galt, author. And you know what? This has been one hell of a synchronistic show, and we got a little bit of a surprise. Our producer, Pacho, has called in. So, keep in mind, too, each and every one of these shows are archived for free. They're totally free. You can listen to them on any podcast player app as well as YouTube, but there's some live stuff that you may not get involved with, but that's okay. They're all for free. So let's keep this thing going here. Just sign up to the Patreon. You're going to get a bunch of cool stuff. There's a ton of packages in there. Sign up for it. You're missing out if you don't. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right, here we go. We got to get this going. Pacho, you're on the line, man. Thanks for calling in. What's up, brother?
Hi, guys. Hello, everybody.
Tell me about your experience with her, please.
Okay. Well, hi, Vaughn. And I wanted to say thank you again, and I'm glad you're here tonight. Yeah, it was really neat to when I reached out to her, she saw that I lived in Bellingham, which is just an hour away from where she is, and she offered to do a session with me just because I'm close, and it's kind of the first time she's ever actually been able to do a session with somebody that she would also be talking with on a show like this.
Cool.
And so we made it happen.
And QHHT has to be done in person. It can't be remote. There are other forms that do remote, but QHHT is in person. So.
What went down, brother?
Yeah. Well, she sent me some paperwork. It's kind of like a questionnaire to kind of start talking to yourself, really, and to figure out where you're at and what you want to work on. And so for me, that's where it started, because I found some of the questionnaire just a little bit difficult because I had to ask myself questions, and it became apparent that I'm not really used to doing that a whole lot. And part of it is really how honest do you want to be with yourself? Like, how deep do you want to go? What do you really want to work on? And so, yeah, so that was that part. And so we had our session last week. I drove down after work and met with her. And it's, it probably changes a little for each person, but generally the whole thing is about a 4-hour experience. And for us, we spent, I think, the first hour and a half just going over my paperwork. And it kind of needed some editing in that a lot of my questions or goals were not very clear and solid. And so that was an interesting experience for me of sitting with Vaughn and having her just directly call me out on things or to reframe my questions in a way that pointed out how I was kind of on the fence with things. And so that part was challenging, but it was also really helpful to work on that. And
cool. Yeah. And the reason why your QHHT practitioner will really just go straight to the meat and greet of and the nuts and bolts of their answers is because they're trying to get so many layers to see what the issue is. Because when you get to the part where you're talking to the oversoul, the universal consciousness in everyone, in your session, it's going to come out anyways. So we try to get everything out so that we know what to ask. Because if you don't ask the question, you won't get the answer. So we need to know everything to know the right questions to ask at that part.
Wow. So all right. So you had in that 4-hour session, did you have one of the greatest awakenings of your life, possibly? I feel like that's something you went through there.
Yeah, it's still happening.
It's still happening, huh?
What are you seeing? What are you
Yeah.
seeing? What's
talk about it.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's going to continue to integrate and unfold. And I'm going to skip ahead for just a sec. One of the biggest points or messages that came from the oversoul, or talking to my bigger self, was that I have a choice in all of it. That was one of the biggest things that came through. And so in my particular case, I have to choose what I want and go for it.
Yeah.
And
kind of what I'm going through too, brother. Actually, yeah.
That's pretty much what it came down to in a lot of ways, was to just know what you want and to go for it. And any kind of hesitation or just riding the fence or anything like that is going to kind of keep me stuck in the places that I've been stuck. And that was, and it kind of loops around back to like doing the paperwork and asking questions and things like that. We had some laughs in that. Well, it's no wonder you're stuck, because you're not asking to go anywhere. You haven't actually really decided what you want. And so how's the universe going to bring that to you if you're not asking for it, or if you don't even know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Pacho, you're such a big-hearted guy. I've been telling you, like, such a big heart that you spend a lot of the majority of your time, like, focusing on other people and making sure they're happy, you know? I bet you that's why when you asked those questions, it was hard for you, because you're like, well, it's almost like you felt bad about, you feel bad about doing something for yourself. You don't know more, I hope, or at least you're letting go of that.
The thing that was interesting about Patrick's session also is that I typically go over 3 lifetimes, but what was revealed was 5 different lifetimes.
Wow.
One, he was a shepherd.
Oh.
And he was
makes sense.
And he was a shepherd, a single man. And one of the life regrets that he had was he did not pursue the woman that is his current wife now.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
He had another lifetime where he was a fish, a swordfish. And he had another lifetime where he was an accountant in San Francisco. But his childhood, he was a farmer. And in that lifetime, he enjoyed farming, and that's what he learned, is like he actually enjoyed farming and not so much being a business person in San Francisco. But the interesting thing was I actually fact-checked some of the information that I could, and he said that he worked at a Montgomery Bank in San Francisco. He went through a steam train in the early 1920s. And in the early 1920s, Montgomery Street in San Francisco is the main street where the earliest banks were started. And some of them were started by what they suspect as mafia connections. But in that lifetime, he was very integrous. And he had, as an accountant, found that the owner or his manager or boss was cheating people of their money, and he was going to return it. But because of that, his boss poisoned him with wine in the office, and nobody ever heard from him again.
Bastard.
So, yeah, in the office, in the bank office. So it kind of makes you wonder, was there mafia connections in that bank?
What a bastard.
How can you move a body? But so I typically would call the library, the San Francisco library, to see if there was any reports of a 20-something accountant that worked for a bank in the early 1920s that had been found dead or died of poisoning or anything like that. But they closed right now, so they can't go to the archives. And I tried to find a bank named Montgomery Bank, but what they told me is there's lots of banks in that time, and that was the street where they all came up, it actually saved San Francisco from the Great Depression. So that's all they could tell me, but they can't go into the microfiche to go in and take a look at the earliest bank's name that came up. So that was interesting. In lifetime number 4, he was a tribesman, and he is married to his current wife, and it was a really great life there. And I actually looked at the name of the tribe. What's the name of the tribe? The tree. Patrick, do you remember the name of the tribe?
I think.
Yeah, it was the.
You said it was.
Keotin, you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The tribe, we actually got some names out. The tribe was called the Keotin tribe, and I looked up, and I actually called a archive of known Native American tribes, and they said that many Native American tribes during tribal festivals will wear their best outfits, like a coyote hat that they may get through gaming, or the symbol of kind of their stature in the tribe. And that's what he wore in this lifetime during festivals, was a coyote hat. And they also said that some of the earlier smaller Native American tribes are either called Kyotin or Keotin. And that's all that they could give me.
And well, that's pretty cool. I gotta get in on this. So we go to your website, right? That's to sign up for it or get a session.
Yeah, if you're in the Seattle area,
Yeah, so you have to come to Seattle.
Well,
Yeah,
if you're gonna get that much information, it might be worth it. Get on a plane, go to Seattle.
Yeah. Well, the other thing also is it was revealed also that he, in his 5th lifetime, he was a World War I soldier, and he got shot in the back of the head, which happens to be exactly where his pain is.
Well,
so
at least you didn't suffer, right? Not trying to look at things positive.
So friend, you're such a friend. So very interesting, the lifetimes. And so what happens in many sessions, and Patrick is a great case as well, is that it's shown in the different lifetimes why you experience certain things, and what lessons or what experience you take from it. And it also shows that some of the people in your current life now are also part of previous lives. So it brought up a lot of choices that he has for how does he want to experience this life, knowing this information and knowing that the players are the same players. So that's typically what it's brought forth. He also had a wonderful experience bringing forth deceased loved ones. And they all pretty much gave the same message, to just go for it. You could do it. Go for your dreams. Just ride that 5th dimensional energy, which was really wonderful. Patrick, did you want to kind of talk a little bit about the business plan that the Oversoul gave you?
Yeah, if you don't have to,
Sure.
If it's personal, but go ahead.
No, it fits in to something that you and I talked about one of the last times I called in, or one of the last times we talked about. I think you asked me I don't remember what the question was, but I said something like, well, no, I'd actually be happy just kind of living in a little cabin on a farm somewhere,
right on,
or something along those lines. And that's the exact detailed plan that we came up with talking to myself, the bigger self, was to live on a small farm with the help of community and other people, producing good food and medicine for everybody, and also allowing people to come in and stay on the farm if they like, and to learn how to do things. And that was more or less in a simple sense, the outcome of that, which was very nice.
It was really.
Vaughn commented
it was,
that sounds like that sounds perfect, actually.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Actually, Patrick is kind enough to allow me to share his session in my YouTube channel, Merkaba Chakras QHHT, which you can find through the website as well. And you can listen to the whole 2.5 hour session. But it's amazing because this comes up very often in my clients, where the oversoul gives them their issues that is holding down their density. That's kind of, preventing them from getting further into their awakening process, because it's a process. And the oversoul and your spirit guides, your deceased loved ones, all the people on the other side, also through the session, will bring forth suggestions on how you can raise your energy. And then it'll even give you your fifth dimensional business plan, or this is what you will have fun if you choose to do it. And Patrick's fifth dimensional plan was, you love farming, you love getting into nature, but the way in which you do it is going to be more around unity consciousness. So instead of owning the farm, be open to maybe leasing the farm from the owner who can't sell the family land, but they would love to see life be brought back to the farm.
There you go.
And you being a good farmer, you're a great lease. So you would lease the farm, and then you would obviously live there, but then you would not do the work all by yourself, which is a third dimensional way of thinking. Like, I have to own it, I have to do it myself, I have to make sure, all that kind of stuff. But the fifth dimensional business plan that always comes up is you offer to the public that you get free room and board and food if you help work on the farm, kind of like exchange for labor. Also workshops, farming workshops, growing workshops, workshops for parents and kids if they want to come and learn about the farm. They can help pick pumpkins or whatever. You could do summer camp workshops. I mean, they gave you so many different ways in which you can get help from the public, and then also express your artwork by taking photographs of the beautiful produce that you grow, and pictures of the farming community and the other farms, and kind of evangelize the farming community. And that kind of helps go into selling your produce to the farmers market. And even before doing that, the oversoul even told him, do not plant anything until you get the contracts. Go to all the shops, all the markets, all the different vendors, diversify your vendors, and get, what do you want me to grow? What kind of orders do you want me to fulfill? And then grow those orders. And so you only grow what you know you have sales for. So you already have built-in income coming in from your harvest that you're going to harvest later in the year. And you have available labor in all these different ways that you can get help from the public and also people that you pay as well. But it's not just you doing yourself. And you're still going to be creative by evangelizing and do the marketing and pictures, and still be able to travel and see the world through the farming community and sharing organic living and kind of holistic farm life. And that is the fifth dimensional business plan. It's not you do it all yourself, you own it all, and it's all about you. So it's very holistic, and it was amazing that you got literally a business plan that people paid thousands for from a professional. And you got it from Oversoul.
Right.
But now the choice is yours. Do you want to do it?
Well, we gotta,
exactly.
Yeah, I think when you get that going, brother, or you start getting that going, give me a call. I'll come up there and farm that land with you. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, there ain't no problem with that one, because I would love to get away from a lot of stuff, to be honest with you, and do that. It sounds amazing. So, we got to take this one quick break, and then we're going to get back into talking about the alien star seeds That
yes.
is something we definitely need to talk about. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hi, this is David Oman with HouseAtTheEndOfTheDrive.com. You're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Do you want to know the truth? Are UFOs real? Are aliens visiting Earth? Are governments around the world hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO Seekers, official partner of The Fringe FM, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Join us as we investigate locations like Area 51 by subscribing on YouTube at youtube.com/UFO Seekers.
The Liberator Rocket Heater will heat your home for free. The highly efficient Liberator Rocket Heater has no moving parts. It's safe and strong, constructed of 1/4-inch steel. So like all things made in the USA, it's built to last. Uses any kind of wood, sticks, even scrap in its gravity-fed firebox. And it heats workshops, homes, garages, outbuildings, industrial areas, and barns. Watch the video of this blast furnace stove in action. Visit rocketheater.com. That's rocketheater.com.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Rupe.
Hey Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Alex Exum.
This is Alex Exum of the Exum Experience in Live Talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. You can listen to the show live on the Fringe FM or the Fringe FM app at www.thefringe.fm. Make sure you stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable that comes on directly after the show. 5 nights a week, we're here for you. Tonight, author Von Galt is with us, and our producer, Pacho, has joined in and told his story about his session. But as we are in the last segment of the show, and Pacho's hanging with us here, I wanted to get into, what is, because we wanted to talk about the Tulku children and starseed alien souls, right? And I know a lot of people jump back when they hear that. They're like, here we go, alien woo-woo stuff, right? But after everything that you've told me about all this, I am definitely ready to hear this.
Yes. Yes, awakening, ascension, and the fifth dimension. So just before I forget, everyone, if you want to see what your Merkaba, your energetic frequency looks like, there's actually a website called Sound Made Visible, soundmadevisible.com. And it's a wonderful website. Two engineers, through my 20 years of scientific research in studying sacred geometry and the science behind it, but two engineers developed a cymoscope, which is a technology to see what your Merkaba or what sound looks like. And in Buddhism, the monks and nuns, what they typically would do is use singing bowls, and they would do chants, and they would do sound harmonics to see what the Merkaba looked like, what the mandala looks like for that sound. And that's how they would do it. But now in the modern age, we have this beautiful technology by cymoscope where they can record your voice, put it into the tool, and it will show what your Merkaba looks like, what your Buddhist mandala looks like. And from looking at your Merkaba, you can see how developed spiritually and how much energy this person is. So you can see if your teacher, if your pastor, if your daughter, if even your dog, you can see everybody's Merkaba and see how spiritually developed and how much energy their human aura field generates. And the reason why that is important is because the higher your frequency, the higher your ascension and your level of frequency. And the higher your frequency, the better your immunity, the less you suffer. People heal around you. They're usually happier and healthier. Everything around you in your environment is affected by your field because of that good vibration. And your presence alone becomes healing. And that Merkaba, as you perfect it into the higher frequencies, is your vessel in how your consciousness travels between multiple realities into higher and higher realities. And as you get further into the fifth dimension with Earth, and you are manifesting all this good stuff because you worked on your negativity, you worked on your triggers, you worked on the dense stuff, you're not going to create out of your fears. Because everything is coming up faster, everything manifests faster. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to create out of fear. That's for sure.
Yeah. So if you work on it, then not going to create your worst fears in these higher energies. So all you're going to create is more of what you are, which is more opportunity, more loving, more peaceful, just wonderful stuff, all the good stuff. And let me also explain that with the Schumann resonance of Earth, they actually did a study, and this is scientific, it's not just a Buddhist understanding. They did a study that whenever they looked at history and whenever she had her spikes in frequency, it never jumped to these higher numbers that we're noticing now because she's making these big leaps. But in the past, she maybe did a little bit of jumps. But whenever she did these jumps in frequency, what they found in the history of the Earth where it is happening is that there was major wars and also renaissance. So what that means over and over again is whenever she has these jumps in frequency, you are going to amplify what you are. So if you are constantly in fear-based mode, if you're constantly thinking, the worst thing, you're going to create those fearful incidents over and it's going to come to you faster and in more abundance. So work on them. If you've worked on those repressed issues and you don't have any dark night of the soul stuff to deal with, then you're going to create more of what you are, which is instead of the war inside you, you're going to create the renaissance. So you're going to be more abundant, more creative if you're creative. You're going to be more prosperous. If you're a farmer, you're going to create even more stuff. So pick which side of the coin in terms of how you want to use these energies. These energies are tools in the fifth dimension. Then you get to decide how you want to use these tools. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you for telling us about that.
Let's talk about star seeds.
Yeah, because we got like the 15 minutes left. The show goes by quick.
Yeah. It goes by really quick when you talk about this great topic.
Mhm.
So star seeds, okay? Star seeds are ancient souls that prior to being on Earth incarnate, they have had different lifetimes in other games within the creation. They've been Arcturians, they've been Pleiadians, they've been Lyrians, Elementals, you name it, whatever star system out there, they've been other experiences. Earth is not the first showdown that they have had an experience as a soul having a physical experience. However, they come to Earth just like everybody else in amnesia, even playing field. And one of the things that they need to do, we actually have a wonderful story about Yeshua ben Yosef, which is what you would call Jesus in the West.
Right.
But that's a different topic. But anyways, he's one of many students that's come through the canon. And what a star seed needs to do is they need to have their awakening. And once they have their awakening and they work on their ascension and raising their frequency, they're going to raise their frequency to get up to the 5th dimension. And the reason why this is important to get to the 5th dimension is because in these higher energies is where beings of higher frequency from other multiverses and other planets and galaxies exist. So if you want to meet your aliens that you are very fascinated to meet and all the different abundance and varieties of them, you need to exist in the reality that they exist in, which is the 5th dimension.
Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, so that's cool, right? So the thing about that is you hear a lot of people talking about star seeds and stuff, and it's like, well, I mean, how do you know? Like, like a lot of people think that they're star seeds, but it's kind of confusing because I've gotten a lot of different stories from it. But that's pretty simple the way you explain it.
Yeah, but you just basically, and in Buddhism, we wrap it all into one. Like Dolores Cannon, the author that developed the QHHT method that I use. If you're not in the Seattle area, you can also go to dolorescannon.com and look for a practitioner in your area and find one that you connect with and go and get your Ascension Awakening cheat code and kind of get your blueprint for the 5th dimension or how to get into there and thrive in there. But the thing about this whole space of star seeds and crystals and all that, in Buddhism, we just call it Toku children. Okay, and Toku children are just really ancient souls. It's really, really ancient souls. And you can see how ancient they are based on their Merkaba. So like I said, the singing bowls, the monks and nuns would do a singing bowls to see what the person's energy is. And I just had, I went to Sound Made Visible, and I just had my Merkaba, displayed. And the engineer sent me my Merkaba, and it was very interesting because my Merkaba is 12 layers. It's a 12 fold geometry, so 12 sides, and it looks like a Buddhist wheel of Dharma with some lions on each spoke. It's just funny. So I have 12 layers that make a Buddhist Dharma, wheel of Dharma, with the lions at the gates of each spoke, and that's my Merkaba. So I was just like blown away to see what I actually look like. But you can go to that website and see where you are in terms of your spiritual development to see what your Merkaba looks like. And remember, your Merkaba is your pathway to getting further into the 5th dimension, to get into the parallel reality that's going to have your next best experience. Do you have any questions?
Negative. I'm ready to go on to the next thing. So how do we live in this? What's some tips to kind of like that we can do like at this moment? Like people that maybe say we don't have any tools or we don't have access to the internet. What would be one thing that you say everybody can do? A very simple exercise that they could do to get in harmony with the 5th dimensional energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing is, if you're not having your own personal Mandela effects, so you're not really sure if you're traveling parallel realities, you're doing it unconsciously. There's a lot of fun websites out there where you can see if, your childhood book was the Berenstain Bears or was it the Berenstain Bears? Did Eggman Man deliver those checks or did he not deliver the checks? I mean, there's a lot of, fun Mandela effect quizzes out there to kind of test your memory of what you remember about reality. And then if you start seeing your own personal Mandela effects, then you can really start being conscious of your reality and start thinking, what did I change in my perspective that put me in this reality? Because it's all about changing perspective and seeing the fuller picture. So that's a fun exercise to do, just about, testing how conscious you are in your reality. But the other thing that people could do to kind of get into these higher frequencies is you can meditate. And meditation is very simply anything that stops the monkey mind from thinking. So like if you do music or if you do art or if you do gardening, oftentimes when you're in that state, you're not thinking about anything besides, like I paint, so I would just think blue, red, swirl. I'm not thinking about anything. So what they found in science is that when you are in that meditative frame of mind, you actually radiate alpha or gamma wave frequencies, which is those higher frequencies. Like I remember the Earth is her Schumann resonance. She was going from 7.83 hertz, those low density frequencies, to like 20, 30, 60, these higher, crisper resolution frequencies. Well, when you meditate, you go into those higher fifth dimensional frequencies. So do more of that. That will help you kind of with these energies as well. And then the other thing is work on the triggers in your life that are lowering your frequency. So in Buddhism, we have the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths, which I wrote a book on, which you can get on Amazon. Just look up Von Galt and click on the author's name or pull up my author's profile. And I have 2 Buddhism books. This one is Buddhist Guide to Manifest Parallel Realities using the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path in the Age of Consciousness. And it's a really good basic understanding of these basic principles of Buddhism that you can use to address those triggers in your life that's lowering your frequency and keeping you to the third dimension, or that's keeping you from manifesting the positive stuff in these higher energies and always bringing up the dark night of the soul stuff for you to deal with. So you can use that. There's other methods as well, but really make a list of all the things that you are dealing with and see if you are dealing with it because of conditioning. Oftentimes, people are doing things based on conditioning from their family, from their culture, from their race, from their class, from their religions, from whatever, and it's not really their belief system, but they are accepting it and manifesting in their life in these higher energies from a belief system about something that's not even theirs. So work on that, and that will help you get the basics so that you can slowly navigate these new energies much more positively in your life.
That's really cool. Yeah, that is a really cool thing, because the conflicts I feel like that are inside of us are unnecessary sometimes. I feel like if we just see what we really want, and that's the whole shadow stuff too, what are the like the voices in your head telling you that it's wrong or that it can't happen or that won't work or whatever, and yet your heart and your soul's like, yeah, but that's what I want, so where are those voices coming from? That's the trick, I think.
Yeah, those voices are your conditioning.
Yeah.
There's other people's voices. It's your family member going, you're not worth it. You're not enough. Yeah. And so you keep thinking that way. It's your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend going, you're never going to find any better. So you keep picking the same person that in a different person. You keep picking the same kind of low density relationship.
Yeah.
It's your friends growing up who maybe that you were not supposed to hang out with that very long, who told you you're not that good. You should stick around with this crowd instead. So you never go for the better job opportunities. You never try for the better job applications. These are all
what are you
things that
basing
aren't
your,
even yours.
Yeah, well, what are you basing your value on, right? Like, are you basing your value on who you are as a person, like in your spirit, or you're basing your value on status or your looks, or what?
Yeah, and I will caution people as well, as you get further into your awakening and ascension, as we get further into the fifth dimension reality, and it's happening, in waves. And Patrick found this out in his hypnosis as well. The oversoul actually states in his session, which is on my YouTube channel that you can listen to when they get it up. But he actually says that we are going into a higher dimension and a higher frequency. And if you're doing your awakening and ascension, you're going to have an easier time manifesting abundance and thriving in this energy as compared to the latter. And as you go further into your awakening and ascension process, your sixth senses will start activating and amplifying in these higher energies. Don't be scared of it. You don't have to look for it. It's just going to happen naturally, and you're going to have to learn to live with it peacefully and constructively. So if you start seeing some awakening symptoms where you see some red flashes on the side, or you think you see somebody there and then you look there and they're not there, or reality starting to warp in and out, or you're looking at something solid and all of a sudden just kind of like
I've seen that happen. It glitches. It glitches.
Yeah!
It goes. Yeah, it goes and glitches in and out, and I'm like, what the hell? I've seen that happen quite a few times. To be honest,
I love that one. Well, see, you're catching the frames, the changes in the frames.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you'll see that one. I saw that one with a friend, and I love that. We both were like, "You see that? You see that?" And we were like, "Yeah." We saw. But another one that you will see is, you could be looking at something like, what, in a hot day, and you look at the street and you can see the heat wave.
Yeah.
On the street. Well, you may, as you go further into your awakening and ascension, look at a solid object. All of a sudden, you'll start seeing that object as waves that look semi-solid. You'll see the energy waves. You actually start seeing through the matrix. So there's a lot of different things. Also, you may start communicating and having voices that you're not yours, so you may start getting to hearing other people's thoughts, or being a little telepathic. So that's going to be a little bit different. So you're not going nutty. You have to learn to own your experience, own your thoughts, and not.
That's a little dangerous, though, right? Because most people don't. Like, I was talking about that earlier today with a buddy. I was like, hey, how you go to the store and you know what you can hear and feel, and you're like, hey, how you doing? They're like, oh, I'm fine, and they're not, and you're like, okay, well,
yeah.
you don't want to say anything because you might trigger something. You don't know,
Yep, a lot of people unconsciously broadcast all the time, and if you're in these higher energies, if you're empathic, if that's one of your six senses, you'll feel, and you'll feel all these emotions, and they're not yours, and you're trying to figure out what is this? So, as we get, because everybody has different sixth senses as they get further into the spiritual development. And the fifth dimension is not about like the third dimension of how much money you can make, how big your house is, how good looking your spouse is, et cetera, all of those physical barometers that we put on each other.
Right.
The fifth dimension is all about thriving in unity so that we do more with less energy and effort because we're doing it together. And also about really being the crystalline consciousness, being the Merkaba that affects reality positively. So it's about your spiritual development, because your spiritual development will create a physical reality that is so much more abundant and so much more peaceful and so much more enjoyable than the 3D games we've been playing. Because now we're opening ourselves up to the greater reality, the multiverse, and these quote, quote, aliens of the universe. So they're waiting. They want to be oftentimes I'll get clients who are starseeds, and their past lives, they were these different beings, and it will show that. And in this life, it will give them, their fifth dimensional plan. So I had a client, I'll give you an example. I had a client, she came in, she has this light language. She's been talking gibberish her whole life, and she wanted to know what it was. So under hypnosis, it was found that she is a starseed from a different galaxy. And she incarnated as a human being at this time. So at some point in the future, whether it's in her lifetime or her children's lifetime, they will have documentation of this light language that she somehow knows, because when we make connection with the beings that speak this light language, they already incarnated one of theirs as one of us to be the ambassador that knows their language and communicate with them.
Well, that is amazing. Like I want everybody to go to the website too, merkabachakras.com, and we do got to get out of here. So thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show.
You're welcome. I have one quick message. It's going to take 10 seconds.
All right.
The oversoul typically says the same thing to everybody. And so I put it into these messages. And this is what the oversoul wants everyone to know. You've always been enough. Use the gifts and the resources all around you to create a life you want to experience. A life full of love and joy. And the spirit world will nudge you through synchronicity. You can do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. We do got to get out of here really fast. Thank you, Pacho, for coming on too, brother, and telling us your story. Don't copy the show without written permission. Music was by Chronox and Steezy Stevie. Big shout out to all you guys in the Fringe FM chat room, the patrons for making the show keep moving. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.